Happy New Year! Welcome to 2023 and welcome Star Wars fans because Bad Batch Season 2, the first 3 episodes are out and this video is going to be my review of those 3 episodes. But before we get to that, remember to go into the description and click on the link for a free ebook if you like epic fantasy. And also remember to subscribe and follow this channel so you can get more of this great content. All right, let's do it. Welcome back to Great Stories Change the World. This is the YouTube channel where a science fiction fantasy author, me, looks at different forms of media, especially movies, books, TV shows, streaming and otherwise, and I analyze them and review them because I want to help people become great storytellers, because I do believe, as is the name of the channel, that great stories change the world. So today we're going to be looking at the Bad Batch Season 2. Now, if you're not familiar with the first season, then go watch it. I think it's a great season. It's got a decent number of episodes. They're like a half hour each. But this is from Dave Filoni, the same guy who was in charge of the Clone Wars, and then he and Jon Favreau with The Mandalorian. And Filoni has done just a great job with everything he's done with the Star Wars universe. Now, last year or year before, I think it was year before, 21 or maybe in 2020, they did season 8 or the last season of the Clone Wars, and they finished out the Clone Wars. One of the criticisms of the TV show, the animated show, the Clone Wars, was that they never really finished it out and kind of brought us to the end of kind of the storyline and brought us up to Revenge of the Sith, so to speak. And so he did that, but in that season, that kind of final season he did, and there's a lot of Ahsoka in that, which I love. She's one of my favorite characters, and Dave Filoni is a part of that. Then he also included this new group of guys, new group of clones. This is Clone Force 99, also called the Bad Batch. So these were clones, but they each had like a strength or something different about them. So they weren't like a clone like all the other clones. They'd been altered somehow or mutated or whatever. So these guys were like their special group, right? And so the season 1 of the Bad Batch was them sort of surviving Order 66 and trying to figure out what's going on with the Empire. And so some spoilers in here. One of the guys who was part of the original group, his name was Crosshair. It's pretty early on in the first season. He becomes kind of separate from the other guys. He goes more towards the Empire, and the other guys, the rest of Clone Force 99 or the Bad Batch, become kind of outlaws, right? At the same time, they go to Camino and they're trying to figure out all this stuff, and they find another clone, a young girl, and they kind of take her in. So that's really the big setup of the first season. And so now we're getting into the second season. And in the second season, we're kind of kicking it off right where the first season left off, where the Bad Batch they're kind of like the A-Team a little bit. Not really, but they're like the A-Team. They're pirates or they're smugglers or what have you. It's somewhat similar to something like, Firefly was, if you love that show, where they're kind of outside the system and they're taking these jobs from kind of the underground gangsters, and their main contact, I think her name is Sid, and she's an alien, and she tries to get them these jobs. So the first season kicks off with her trying to get them to take on this new job. So I'm going to go over the 3 episodes here today. I'm just going to kind of make a few comments. First of all, just Dave Filoni is involved, and so it's really, really good. So this is Dave Filoni. Jennifer Corbett is the head writer, and she kind of heads up the story, and I don't know much about her, but I'm seriously impressed with a lot of the writing on these shows. And I wouldn't say Bad Batch is as good as the Clone Wars in general, But it's definitely a great Star Wars show. It's not as much about Jedi. It's more about these clones and the transition from, you know, Revenge of the Sith to kind of that time period between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and the Empire coming to power and all that stuff. So they're dealing with a lot of those issues through the lens of this group of guys who have adopted this girl. Her name is Omega. So there's Clone Force 99. And by the way, one guy does all the voices. D. Bradley Baker, he does all the voices of all the Bad Batch, which I think is pretty cool, actually. And there's some voice actors doing some of the other stuff. Now, the first episode is Spoils of War. So basically, Sid kind of starts talking to the Bad Batch, and she's like, look, you know, Count Dooku kind of pulled together a lot of wealth from separatist nations. He was kind of stealing from different planets and different systems. And so he's got this war chest, and it's this huge treasure on his home planet. So what I love about what Dave Filoni, and then Favreau does it too, and it's because they're working together, is they have these sort of connections to the rest of the universe and other movies, and yet they do it well. They actually do a really good job coming up with some new things and new stories, but still kind of grounding us and showing us different areas of the Star Wars universe and the galaxy and all of that sort of stuff. And so at first they say no, but then they say yes because, you know, they didn't want to because it was dangerous. But Sid is, you know, Sid has like the pitch, right? The pitch is, hey, guess what? If you pull off this job, you'll never have to work again. You can retire. And they like this idea because they don't want to put Omega in danger. And so there's this conflict mainly in the first two episodes between Omega and Tech. So Tech is one of the Bad Batch, and she overhears the fact that they want to protect her and they want to do this job so they can keep her safe, and they don't want to put her in danger, and they don't want to be in danger, and they want to retire and all of this stuff. So she kind of feels guilty about it and doesn't really talk to anybody. Of course, they love her, they really enjoy her, and they're choosing her, but you know, she's a kid, so she's trying to make sure they succeed at this mission. So there's this tension kind of between her, and Tech is the main member of Clone Force 99 who is telling people, hey, we kind of need to do this, and he's kind of pushing. So, of course, that is great writing. Okay, so part of this channel is to talk about what great writing is, and part of what's great writing about these seasons of the Bad Batch is they are exploring the big meta idea, which is there's an empire, there's an emperor, there's oppression, and they're doing that, but they're doing it through a lens of a group that we care about, and they're misfits, right? Misfits are a huge positive when you're telling a story. Get people to connect with misfits. Everybody feels like a misfit. So they've got these group of misfits, but they're fun, and and there's a community, and yet at the same time we're seeing what's happening when we know what's happening, but so they're not making the stakes whether or not the empire is going to become the empire, right? Or they're making the stakes more personal to them. And this is something that, if you watch my other videos on the Rings of Power, that the Rings of Power failed at. The Rings of Power went back in time to a time we all know what's going to happen. They're going to make the rings. They're going to do the things, right? These people are going to survive. We know all that. And they didn't give us stakes that were separate from those things. They made the stakes of the show stuff we already knew. So this is really great writing by Filoni, by making it more about this particular heist. And it's personal to this group of people so that maybe they can retire and they won't have to be in danger anymore. They can take care of Omega. So that's really good writing because it gives us stakes about these people, and also these are new characters, and we don't know if they're going to die. We don't know if they're going to survive to, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and that trilogy. We don't know if they're going to make it there. So I think it's really good writing, and it's something that we should pay attention to, especially as a lot of these larger franchises like Marvel and all this stuff, you know, they're doing prequels, they're doing these other kind of offshoots and TV shows. When as you get into streaming, you have to figure out how to do that in your writing, because to give stakes that people, they don't know what's gonna happen, and you make it personal. So very good job. So that's kind of the first one, and then there's a cliffhanger at the end of Spoils of War. And at number 2 is Ruins of War. That kind of finishes out that storyline, and I really dig that whole storyline. I dig the personal kind of conflict between Tech and Omega, and I won't spoil what happens, but I dig it, and I think they did a great job, as usual, as Filoni usually does. Now, episode 3 is a very interesting episode. In episode 3, we are focused just on Crosshair. So Crosshair is recovering, and now he's ready to get back into action. He's recovering from season 1 and some of the battles and stuff, and he's ready to get back. Now, Crosshair, if you don't know, he's like a marksman, like a sniper. That's his main strength, right? But he's also just a good soldier overall. They're all good soldiers when they have their strengths, like the A-Team, right? And so therefore, you don't know who the A-Team was, go back to the 80s. It's probably on YouTube somewhere, right? But before you do that, pay attention, right? So all that to say is we're looking at Crosshair, and Crosshair gets involved in a mission because there's this planet and the Empire is trying to take over the planet. They send a governor there, and this planet is Desix, and they happen to be the same kind of people with they have like helmets on, and they have the weird voice, just like Princess Leia was in Return of the Jedi. So when in Return of the Jedi, when Princess Leia shows up at Jabba's palace, and she's dressed like a bounty hunter, and now we know, oh, it was kind of this group of people. So she was kind of pretending to be this group of people. And we see a little bit more of that planet. Again, these are little things that Filoni does, and I love the way he does this stuff. And it's really cool. And of course, we see how the Empire is coming in and saying, we don't care if you're an independent planet. We are for the safety and security of the galaxy, so we're going to take you over and kill you, even if you don't want to, right? And that's an oppressive government thing, and very common with oppressive governments, and so they're showing it through this one character, Crosshair, and we bring Cody in. So he brings Cody back in, who was a major character in the Clone Wars and Rebels and some of these other things, and so therefore we kind of see them working together as clones, and there's this transition happening between the clones and then the new soldiers, the stormtroopers coming in, and so we start to see some of that. And again, when you are a huge Star Wars fan, that's cool to see, but that doesn't make it great story. Those are great, ideas, and they're great things to see, and it's a backdrop, and we want to see that stuff, but what makes it a great story is the kind of the moral decisions that Cody and then Crosshair have to make, because they're trying to rescue this guy from the Empire, but they want to take over this planet, and they're being used as instruments of the Empire. And it's a very complex episode when you really think about it. And there's some moral decisions that have to get made by the end, and that's what makes it a good story, is that yes, there's action, and we get to see these guys be really cool and do all this cool stuff, but it's really an interesting episode. So far, I am really encouraged and enjoying the first 3 episodes of The Bad Batch Season 2. You let me know what you think of these 3 episodes. Put it in the comments. Let me know what you think, and I will see you later. Remember to subscribe, all right? Peace.